Now I'm going to tell you the story of Zordania. Are you ready? So in our galaxy, we have a black hole at the center of our Milky Way. That black hole leads to a white hole. It comes out as a star. The star is called the Nova Gamma Matrix. Around this star is a planet. The planet is Zordania. Now in Zordania there were gray type alien beings, some sort of Zeta Reticuli looking ass creatures that had mastered everything, but they were on a negative path. So they tricked this scientist from Earth to take over their technology and blend humans with them, which he did. And took over management of their planet. He also human trafficked a bunch of humans to that planet and did experiments on them and just put them loose on the planet with different abilities opened up, and he observes them. He's got a flying castle, and it's aloof, but he had 5 robot children, and one of them dies because the humans catch it. They see it spying on him. They don't know what it is. It doesn't escape, and they destroy it. So he starts to genocide them. Well, they start to collectively pray or contact the planet. And the planet assists them because they're being genocided on the surface, and they are the main life on the planet. Because the negative beings were no longer living there, but a blended version of them were. That was made into these like orc creatures by the scientists, and that's what they wanted to do because they excised their emotions, and they were needing to be blended back because they needed that. They just went pure intellect. It didn't do them any good, which is why they're manipulating and doing stuff with us here now. The same thing. The scientist took them up on this bargain, and he was brilliant with genetics, but he was missing a key component, and these beings were able to use that to their advantage. So when the planet receives this calling that all these people holding hands on the planet are doing, hands across America type shit, hands across the world, the planet's orbit shifts. It rolls over on its side, and it puts the dark side, the side where the scientist is set up with his flying castle. So now he's in the dark side. The other hemisphere that points to the star, a big mountain raises up to point to the star, and on the top of that is the Overlord, which is like the personified good consciousness, light. And on the other side, there was a chasm that opened up into the deep, and that's where the Darkitect is. The Darkitect is the Underlord. Immediately they start warring with each other. If the people can flee and get to the light side, they'll be able to live. So they start to exodus and go over to the light side. Well, the scientist, is primeval, we're going to call him that. That's his name. He's the warlord over the air element. Now there ends up being 4 warlords for each of the elements. But the Overlord and the Underlord are like the masters of the positive and the negative path. So the Underlord immediately casts like a spell that causes the Overlord's wife, whose name was Attica, she gets pregnant, and then she has a baby that she dies from. She dies having this child, but it's like it doesn't have a body. It's like a black form of mist. It's like a shadow being, and the Overlord just raises this shadow being as if he's his son, and he becomes the warlord of water, and that's the character known as Zordanan. Zordanan's a badass. He looks like the Grim Reaper, but he's just like a dark, like kind of like how this character you're looking at here, except he's just the eyes and he's the cloak because he has a shadow. He ends up getting a sword called the Diamond Sword, and it's a badass sword. There's two of them on this planet. Now, the Darkitect has a minion. It's kind of like a vampire on the dark side, and he tries to take over and become like the Darkitect himself, this vampire named Nalar. And Nalar gets banished to the light side, where the Underlord just makes a mountain come up that shadows in this old castle, and that's where Nalar's banished. But he ends up being the warlord of Earth, and he can't be in the sunlight, so he's totally like fucked being on the light side. But he has soldiers, and he does tunnels, and he basically travels underneath the earth, but on the light side because he's banished to that. There's another character. When they're having this exodus go off, there's a fight between this human warrior and these other robots, and Prime intervenes, but he's built himself a robot suit, and he's got his body's basically turned into a fucking badass cyborg or some shit, and he flies over there and he fights with this warrior, and he casts him into a volcano because they're fighting on this volcano that's like right on the Terminator of where it's light and dark. It's like right barely in the light side, so he's like right on the border fighting him, and just casts him into this volcano. But this warrior's got such strong emotions that he goes into the volcano, but he starts to like meditate and transform himself, so he turns into like this undead sort of warrior, like a lich or something. In the volcano, he's become a fucking like almost like an undead creature, or not like a zombie, but like a living skeleton kind of. And he's the Dreadlock. Dreadlock is the warlord over fire, and he's pretty chaotic in the beginning because he gets trapped sort of in the in between dead state and live state, but in that battle war, fighting for his people to survive. So it sort of warps him until a fight everybody sort of mindset, which it takes him a long time to balance out of. It takes him, but he ends up being good. But in the beginning, he's bad because he doesn't recognize anybody, and he's just sort of still caught in the war in his mind. But that's the story of this world, and it evolves because from there's different events that happen, different parts of the world, and there's humans that have been trafficked there by this being, the scientist, and some of the armies of the good side, which is Zordanan's army, starts to free them. He finds different caches of people where he's got people stored. They had some people on a satellite orbiting, just all kinds of crazy shenanigans within this story that I've created since I was like 5. But the world is the world. And the first thing I ever saw was the robot on a throne, broken up and beaten up, saying he had failed, because he did. He failed by going transhuman, and he never realized the reality of the higher spiritual realms. He didn't believe any of that was real. He thought it was all just made up. And of course, it's not. A lot of it is manipulated and tainted, just like in reality. But that doesn't mean that the spiritual world isn't true, because it absolutely is. The iceberg of reality is that underneath the surface level is the more of what you are than above the surface level.